Hi, everyone, and welcome to Edulastic Live this week. We're really excited to have you here and happy that you're joining us this Thursday. My name is Ileana Betancourt. I'm a marketing manager here at Edulastic, and I'm joined today by Aditya Agarkar, who is the co-founder and VP of product here at Edulastic. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a bit more about yourself and what you do?
Sure, absolutely. So first of all, thanks for having me here. This is an exciting opportunity, talking directly to, and sharing a few things about Edulastic and how we got here. By way of introduction, we started the company back in 2011. It was known and still goes by the official name of Snapwiz, and Edulastic happens to be one of its products. Edulastic, in terms of how it got its start, we were in the space our platform was being used by a lot of publishers such as McGraw-Hill and Wiley, and we were looking for a K-12 product. We talked to a lot of publishers all the way from HMH to Cengage to some of the more or lesser known publishers. And this was back in 2014 when Common Core was just about to be introduced, and I think we were at the right time, right place. A lot of confusion about what is going to be, and our initial thrust into tech-enhanced assessments definitely got us into the Edulastic space. So that's how it got started.
That's awesome. And as you can probably tell, everyone who's tuning in or just being to listen, this is a very special edition of Edulastic's live series, Meet the Team, where we're introducing you to some of the people who are behind Edulastic, because Aditya was there at the beginning and there with the idea and the one who got things started. So especially if you're with us live today, feel free to enter any questions you might have in the chat, and we'll try to get to them by the end. And if you're listening on YouTube later, you can also go ahead and ask any questions in the comments. We'll try to get to you at some point. So yeah, thanks so much for that general overview. That's really cool. So can you tell us a bit more about what creating Edulastic looked like from the beginning?
Yeah, sure. I think creating any company, I think the major challenge is, the trade-off. There are a lot of things that can be done in the product, but making sure that you get the minimum thing that is enough for the company to get started and get initial users. You have to establish the value of the product almost immediately, and that's one of the big challenges practically in every company. So, I think the main thing that we wanted to do with Edulastic, and I think to a certain degree we have succeeded to a certain degree, as I said, always room for improvement. To a certain degree is we want to establish value of the product within 5 minutes. So that's the whole goal that we pursue. Within 5 minutes, a teacher should be able to create an account, get the students in, create their first assessments and administer it. And if students are right there in the class, get immediate data out, and the value of the product is established within 5 minutes. So that's the goal that we pursue. And I think there are always room for improvement. We are kind of gradually trying to get it down, establish value even sooner, show the rich content available early on. I think all those are very, the goals that we pursue almost throughout the day.
Well, I don't know. From my perspective and what I've heard from teachers, I feel like Edulastic has definitely gotten to a point of success and only continues to go in that direction. So the fact that you're seeing it as a work in progress still, I think is really good, because that means, there always is room for improvement, and that suggestions are being heard, and there's a lot more innovation that's coming down the pipeline.
Right.
That's awesome. So what did the rollout look like? What did Edulastic look like in the beginning, and how does that compare to where it is today?
I think if you've seen some of the screenshots from 2014 to where it is right now, I think the application is completely unrecognizable. We have kind of changed practically everything. And one of the lesser known things about our rollout strategy is that we not only add features, but we kind of also remove them. Sometimes we get blowback from our users. Oh, this was there before, now we don't, it doesn't work like that, or that feature is not there. And, I think like any house that is clean, neat, tidy, easier to navigate, you have to remove the clutter. And that's kind of also some of the things that we do. some users kind of miss that, and as much as possible we try to accommodate the fundamental need through a new and improved features. But yes, it sometimes does getting used to the learning curve is a bit steeper. I think in any product rollout, that's always a challenge. How do you get the initial value established, and how do you make sure that the customers use it day in and day out and get habituated to it? So that's the whole idea.
Cool. Well, you're in a cool role because you're also working on the product and getting to that point where it brings value to teachers' lives and teachers are finding it useful in their day-to-day. So how did you get into product management, and what do you like about it?
I think, so by way of my background, I think you probably know it. I mean, I don't have a teaching background or an education background as such. I come from enterprise software world. I spent like a number of years at Oracle. So I think what I like, and the reason why I got into product management is because, without, you get to influence a lot of things, not only on the technology, but also on the content, also on the user experience, sales, marketing. It's kind of confluence of a variety of things. And I kind of like that kind of role. Every day there are new challenges, and that kind of definitely something to my temperament. So the main challenges in a product management role is, the trade-offs. Like, you can always do something better, nicer, but you are going to upset either the engineers because they have to now redo everything that they have done. You may upset some of the users who were used to doing certain things in a certain way. You might upset our sales and marketing because we have promised certain customers certain things. So yeah, there's always a trade-off, and that's the managing that trade-off and making sure that each constituency you are not upsetting too much, I think is the challenge. So yeah.
Or you could say
you got to have a political hat.
You can also flip it around and say that you're finding ways to make everyone happy too.
That's true.
Definitely. And what do you like most about, like, when you're doing your day-to-day work, working on the product, listening to people, putting things into play? What are you doing every day?
I think my main challenge is, or rather a day-to-day, a typical day looks like, starting early morning with like a status of all the support technical thing, because all said and done, user experience and making sure that our users are satisfied with the product is number one goal. Even before user acquisition or new sales or new opportunities, keeping the existing ones satisfied with the product is number one. So that's how I start my day. And then I follow up with my engineering team almost immediately. If there are some things that are more generic in nature, impacting a lot of users, that gets into a more higher priority. So that's how. So that's number one, followed by status of all the new things that we are working on. Meaning that now we are looking at. So start of the day with what has happened and what is going to happen during that day, followed by some near term what we are going to do in like weeks and months, and then progressively, looking at all the features that we are looking. So I look at what are the new things that are coming, looking at it from a fresh set of eyes. What are the general trends in the industry? Reading up on that, looking at the data, which is not only the data of but in terms of how users are engaging with the product. So doing that kind of data analysis is extremely important. I spend a lot of time on that. And following that more generic long-term trends, what is shaping up in the industry from a technology standpoint, from a generic trend standpoint. That usually happens during the later part of the day when customers and support and those issues are kind of, as teachers wind down, I think more longer term. So.
Right. Makes sense. Sounds like a big mix of research, like in listening, as well as putting things into action and coming up with a plan. So
yes, yeah. I think, you're absolutely right. I think morning, at least a couple of hours of my day gets spent on, talking to the users or talking to, what's happening with our customers. So
everyone who is giving us feedback, know that he gets it.
Yeah, and eventually I make it a point to read practically every support ticket that we get
wow.
in some form or the other. So
That's awesome. Cool. And that sounds like it's such an important part in moving Edulastic forward. So
right.
That's great. So what challenges, I mean, you're doing so much, what kind of challenges do you come across and how do you usually get past them?
I think the biggest challenge is, I said, managing that trade-off. I mean, it's quite possible that, as I said, there are like multiple stakeholders in the product, all the way from engineering to finance to sales, marketing to obviously biggest one and most important are the people who are actually using the product. Mm-hmm. And certain times because of technology or because of various challenges in the ecosystem overall, you can't keep everybody happy at all times. And, managing that is, I think, the biggest challenge. I think, hands down, that's the number one thing.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And so let's see, thinking about Edulastic, as this thing this awesome product you developed for teachers and educators, what's your favorite part about it yourself?
I think I really get, so one of the things that I regularly track is how many assessments are being created every day. Mm-hmm. I track that. Mm-hmm. And I think ultimately, I wish we could show you, but yeah, it is like a hockey stick growth, by the way. I mean, every year, so the number of assessments actually we compute as number of student impressions, meaning how many times students have taken an assessment in a given single day. So that number has grown by close to 300% year over year now.
Wow.
So that's a phenomenal amount of growth. That's awesome. And I like looking at that number, by the way. So.
Yeah, I'm sure that's something that teachers and educators like too, because the more that people are creating assessments and adding them to the library, the more resources are available to everyone. So that's really cool to have that collective resource overall. And also just see the usage go up and up because I don't know, I think it's a great product myself. So I think others would agree. And it's cool to see that happening. And then in terms of Edulastic itself as a physical product, what's your favorite? Is it the reports? Is it the immediate, the dashboard that teachers see? Is it the question types? What do you think is one of the coolest things?
I think one of the coolest thing, and I think is the live class board. I think that's one of the things that is probably the most. I've had a lot of fun designing it in the initial phases. I mean, it's almost one of the features of the product that is still stuck on after making all kind of changes. And I don't think we are going to mess up with it. So yeah, that's definitely one of the most useful and quickest. It kind of establishes value to any user by just showing it. And you don't have to talk about it. You just show it and almost everybody gets it. Cool. So, that's something that I like. I think personally that's been the most useful part.
If you haven't seen the live dashboard yet, definitely check it out. Here's a fun question, and I like asking this question because I know that life, especially at a startup like Edulastic, can be pretty hectic. How do you manage your workload? Are there any tips or tools that you use? Are you a list person? Do you really hold tight to your calendar?
I think calendar is definitely, I'm probably not very disciplined about it, but yeah, it's one of the most important and useful tools. So yeah, that's definitely one of the things. And I think your question about how do you manage the work? So certainly how you structure the day kind of influences that. So I start off with what's my immediate, scheduling things that need immediate priority earlier in the day. And that's why I think I mentioned to you, having all the support and engineering related things. People who are working right now, here and now, take the first priority, followed by a little bit more what we are working now and in few weeks and months. And then more longer term, which requires a little bit more quiet time, thinking time. I think that I try to schedule it later part of the day.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. There you go. And then what do you recommend before we get to that question, if there's one thing that you wish everyone knew about your role and what you're doing at Edulastic, what would it be?
I think one of my, I think what I would like to say is I probably know every nook and cranny of the product. Because in some form or the other, either I've been involved in the design part of it, or meaning like where the placement of the button should be, or where everything should be, and also internally how everything is supposed to work. I mean, basically, including how the data is being stored to how it's being moved around. So so I think I would probably say, I probably know quite a bit about that.
That's awesome. So if you're talking to Aditya, you're talking to the expert. And I often go to you if I have questions too. So that's awesome. And then what would you recommend to teachers who are interested in getting started with Edulastic as a product expert?
Sure. Yeah, so I think one of the easiest ways to get started is if you're using Google Classroom. I mean, that's one of the products that is very popular, and for a reason, because practically anybody with a Google account and ability to follow the steps can get their Google Classroom synced with Edulastic. Edulastic has a lot of content that is ready to use, pre-built assessments. So I would highly recommend, if you're a new teacher, and especially if you have a Google Classroom, try the Google Classroom Sync. Use one of the standard assessments that are already available, and get to use it.
Yeah, just get started.
In a few minutes, and you will start seeing the data stream in on your live class board. So,
awesome, thank you.
5 minutes to wow. That's what our mantra.
Yeah, I feel like that's the theme of today. Just 5 minutes, and then you should be getting going and see that value brought into your classroom. What is your vision for Edulastic moving forward?
I think our vision is organizing assessments is still a challenge. I think some of you may have noticed we have tinkered around with folders. It's still a work in progress. I mean, we have barely started. And I think our goal is to make assessment organization big and make it more aligned with the curriculum. I mean, a lot of times we hear about folders, but I think the core need is, if you are teaching a unit or a module aligned to the curriculum, you should be able to find the assessments for that unit or module way more easily. So, making organizing assessments and bringing it closer to curriculum is the vision that we want to do. And making smarter use of data is another thing. So just presenting data in a bar graph or line chart or table or whatever is not enough. I think we need to add more insights to it, and that's one of the visions that we want to have. And then the third thing is always the same, making it ever easier to use. Nice. Always something that we keep trying.
Definitely, that's awesome. And so what's your favorite time of the year and why?
I think my favorite time of the year is right now, actually.
Oh, cool. We're right in it.
Fall. I think, part of the reason is, I think it's neither too hot nor too cold. The all back to school release, the crazy routine that practically our customers and we go through has abated to a certain degree. And then it's time to now start looking at next year. What are some of the things that we're going to do? What are some of the new features? So it's time to start thinking about what next year might look like.
Gotcha. Exciting.
Yeah.
And then now some more personal questions to get to know you a little better.
Okay.
What do you like doing for fun?
I'm actually a lot into hiking and photography. They go kind of hand in hand. Yeah. So I've probably hiked in mostly almost all continents actually. So hiking, and especially long backcountry hiking, is actually my favorite.
Cool.
Try to do at least one trip a year. So I went to Sierra Nevadas this July, and awesome. I think that was a fun trip.
That was on the JMT, John Muir Trail?
Yes, it was John Muir Trail. I didn't do obviously the whole trail, but a section of it, about 4 days.
Wow, that's an awesome experience.
Right.
That's cool. What is a little known fact about you?
I hate potatoes.
You do? Oh no. What's that?
Including French fries,
Oh.
all kind of various iterations of it. But yeah, I don't like potatoes. I think
Wow.
that's one of the universally liked foods, but I somehow don't like it.
What about sweet potatoes?
Sweet potatoes are different. Those are okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like maybe some potatoes.
Yeah,
the
some
colorful
potatoes.
ones.
Just colorful ones.
What about chips?
Chips are fine provided they are more like, barbecue chips are probably okay, or more jalapeno chips are okay.
It's masking the flavor?
Yeah, masking the flavor.
Okay.
If the farther away it gets from potatoes, I think they are more palatable. And once I liked, so once somebody served me potato ice cream. Have you heard of that?
Never.
It's actually
really interesting.
So here's the thing about potato. I mean, I think it has no flavor of its own. You add vanilla flavor and sugar, and it tastes like vanilla ice cream. So yeah, maybe.
I've had yam ice cream in San Francisco at Mitchell's. Have you had that?
No, I have not.
Or maybe it's not yam. Darn, now I'm forgetting. All right, I'm not gonna make any claims here while we're live. I'll remember what it is and I'll let you know because it's purple and it stands out. If anyone's online and knows what I'm talking about, go ahead and let us know. And what's a hidden talent that you have?
I think I'm also good at least I would like to think of. I think so. I've started doing a lot more of these Photoshop activities, like basically digital art. My daughter is also into it. So yeah, I think some of the things I do with her. So I wouldn't necessarily say hidden talent or anything because I don't think I've done anything spectacular, but it's one of those things that I'm kind of developing now.
Cool.
And it's kind of, somewhat related to the photography activities that I've been doing for many years.
Nice.
So yeah, digital art.
You'll have to share some at our next office potluck.
Awesome.
And then what's your favorite question type and why? I always like finishing off with that question.
It is one of the least used question types, and it's called pictograph.
Oh.
And the reason I like it is because it has like a lot of immense possibilities. And one of the reasons why it's not used that often is because I think we, as a product person, I think we have not done enough to educate people about what kind of possibilities exist with it. But yeah, I think it has a lot of room where if you want students to think in a bit more open-minded way and still have auto-graded on, it's one of those questions that, so one of the things, for instance, if you want to create a statistical model where, you just create some weights for each of the classes, and then you can evaluate, what kind of probabilities might exist in a jar full of bowls, or in how many times will you have to draw certain things to have a probability model be active. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, now that I'm hearing that on marketing, that's putting some ideas into my head for a new blog post. So
yes, absolutely.
Not bad. So everyone, check out that question type. I'm going to go ahead and check Facebook one more time. Oh, hello again, Dina. And again, thanks for everyone who's joining in. If you have any follow-up questions, you can go ahead and either submit them in the comments below, or you can head over to Twitter, follow Edulastic. You can follow Aditya on Twitter as well, and we'll be happy to follow up any questions you might have. And I think that wraps it up for today. Thanks so much for joining today.
Thank you, Lena. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a really great conversation.
Absolutely.
And we hope everyone enjoys the rest of their week. Have a good time.
All right. Okay.